Okay, in this video we're going to do another sheet metal tutorial in Alibre sheet metal, except this time instead of parts that have straight 90-degree bends or 45 whatever, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do some stamped features. Now Alibre can bend this 90-degree bend without any problems, but it's going to have a major issue forming this part here. So what I'm going to go through today is showing you how I created this part, actually by inserting a drawing or an image and then modeling off of that image. So let's go ahead and get started. So now in this new part workspace, the first thing I'm going to do is go up to my insert menu and grab the insert tracing image item, and then the first thing you want to do is select your target plane. So I'm going to grab the XY plane, and then the next one is click on browse to go grab the image that I need. So I'll go to my snag it folder and I'm going to grab my latch cam drawing. Now when you bring in an image, the first thing you want to do is make sure that your view is set normal to your screen, and then you want to scale your image so that you get the right size. So we're going to calibrate for size, and I'm just going to come up here and click on calibrate, and then click on my dimension line up here, and then come straight down and click on this lower dimension line, and then I'll have a dialog that I can key in the 2.75 and press enter. And now this part is scaled to the right size. Now this is my origin, and I want to get the center of this square hole over the origin. So the way to do that is click on move image, and now I can use a wheel mouse to scroll to zoom in. I'm going to put my cursor right on the center of that crosshair and click one time, and then I'll just pan over and then click on the origin, and the drawing will move to that location. And you can tell that it's fairly well centered on the origin and the axis lines. And then click OK. And come back here in the Design Explorer, and we'll just turn that back on by hitting the visibility icon. And now we're all set to start creating our part. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this profile here for the latch blank, or the flat portion. And what we'll do is I'll hit sketch, start my sketch, and grab my XY plane, and then I'll get some rectangles here, and I'm just going to draw a couple of rectangles. I'll just cross them over here, and then I'll trim out the middle portions here. And then we'll add some constraints and dimensions to size this up to fit this outside profile of this body, of this blank. So put some dimensions on here. It's going to be 2.75. This is going to be 1. Then from this line to the origin, it's going to be 0.5. And while I'm at it, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to do some constraints. So I'm going to make this line and this line equal, and I'm going to make this line and this line equal. And now if I click and drag on one of these endpoints, I can make sure that everything is moving the way I want it. So I can drag this down so that it lines up with the profile of the latch blank, and then we'll have another dimension in here from here to here. Let me grab again 1.562. Okay, and then we'll go across over here, and let's make this one 1.781. And from this bottom line to the origin, I'm going to take 2.75 by 2. That's going to be 1.375. Okay, and now let's see how everything lines up here. Our outside lines look pretty good. This one here looks a little bit shallow, so let's go 1.594. Just bump that up a little bit. Okay, that's looking better. So we're looking okay as far as profile of this section. Now we'll just come up here and go to the model tab and hit extrude. Now here I only need that to be about 1.75 for an extrude height, which would be more than enough, because we're looking to get it high enough so that we can develop this surface coming up at 90 degrees at 0.625, and there's going to be a bend in here that we need to accommodate. So we're high enough on here now that we can come off of this face to make the geometry or the features for this tongue that's coming out. So now let's do a sketch on this face, and well, before we do that face, let me back up here. We've got an angle here of 20 degrees on this face, on this edge and this edge here. There's 20 degrees. So that's easy enough to do by using draft. I'd come in here and I could select these two faces and put a 10-degree draft on each one. But if you're working with Atom 3D, then you don't have access to the draft tool. So what I'm going to do here is I'll start a sketch on this face, and we'll project this edge and maintain an orientation or association, and then we'll just draw in 2 more lines and dimension this to 10 degrees, and we'll do an extrude cut. We'll go to geometry, and then finally we'll mirror that feature across the XY plane. Okay, so now we've got the main body, and now we've got this 20-degree slope on here. Now on this face with the slope angle, we're going to start a sketch, and I'll project this line, maintain association, and then come in here. I'm going to come down and just sketch in that profile roughly, and put this coincident to that edge, this line to this edge. And now we need to put a fillet on here, and our drawing has a note here that says all inside bend radii are equal to material thickness. So this is an inside bend, and we're sketching this outside bend right now. So this material thickness is 10 gauge 1.1345. So if we put in a radius of 0.1345 times 2 and close that, now we've got the outside radius of this part of this feature defined. So let's make these 2 lines equal, and we'll get our plane oriented here, and we're going to do a horizontal from the center of the arc to the origin. Okay, and then while we're here, we're going to do a vertical from this end point to this point, and this just can't do it. Okay, so let's okay, let's just do a dimension then. Put on here, we need a angle in here of 120, and then we need a height of, from here we'll go, let's see, it's going to be an inside 0.62. There we go. All right, now we've got that fully defined. Now we can do an extrusion, and we're going to come out 1.72. 1.72. Okay. So now, if you notice, this view here shows a taper on this part that's sticking out. So on this face here, we'll start another sketch, and we'll just throw in some sketch lines here, and I'm going to make this line coincident to this edge and this line to this edge, and then I'll make this endpoint coincident to this edge. If I can get it, coincident point. Well, what's going on here? Okay, let's go coincident from this point to this edge. There we go. All right, now let's put an angle on here. Dimension this at 10 degrees so that it'll match the slope of this face. And then we're going to do an extrude cut, and it won't be normal. It's going to be deselect the along normal, and then in the select box we want to select this edge and let it go to geometry. We can just select this face here, and then we're done. Okay, and then we'll mirror that cut across the XY plane there. So now we've got the angle set in here, we've got our length, we've got our radius. Now we need to add some fillets. So if we come in here and we add some fillets, again our inside radii are going to be equal to material thickness. So there's going to be a bend along this edge and along this edge. So this is going to be an inside bend. So we'll make that one equal to material thickness, and we'll just grab this edge here, and it transitions around because tangent propagate is turned on. And then on this edge, we'll just multiply that times 2. And grab this bottom edge and apply there. Now for these other corners here, let's put like a 0.25 radius on these edges here. Okay, and that's looking pretty close. It's going to match up with the drawing. Now for this one down here, let's try a 0.14 radius, something that's greater than material thickness, so it's easy on the punch. And there we have it. Now we got one more out here on the end, so let's grab this fillet that we had the 1/4 inch radius on, and we'll just add these 2 edges there, and then we're done. Okay, now we got our block. What I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and shell this so that these outside faces excuse me, these are going to define the edges or the surface of the blank. So let me turn off the image so it's out of our way. And this is going to be the outside surfaces of our part. So if we come in here, for the benefit of those that have Atom, we'll grab the shell tool and we'll set our thickness to material thickness, and then start selecting faces to delete. And as you do, you can see that the part starts getting built up. Now, one thing to notice is here that you're going to spend a lot of time picking faces. If you have a part that's fairly complex, you can spend a lot of time selecting all these faces. So here's a little trick that I've learned, that right now my display only shows surfaces. If I come up here and select the Explorer tree options, come down here in display and turn on the faces, and OK that. Now, if I come down and open up faces and expand that, and I'll select the top one, scroll all the way to the bottom, hold Shift and select the last one. Now all the faces are selected. I'll hit Shell, get my thickness set. Now what I want to do is come in here and I'm going to select just those faces that I want to keep. So I'll select that one, this one, this one, this. And that didn't work. Let me back up again. Hit Shell. Select the top one. Shift select. And then we'll select status. Let me think on this. Be back in a minute. Okay, I'm back here. Here's the deal. In the shell, there's this little toggle button down here called Toggle 3D Preview. Want to turn this, when this is on, and you start selecting faces, you get a preview of your shell. You want to turn this off so that you don't see the preview. But what it's going to do is show you the faces that are selected. So again, we'll select the top one, scroll down and select the last one. Okay, now I can come in here and select this one, this radius, this face, these that make up this radius, and these three. Okay, now if I preview, now I've got my part, and OK that. And that's a lot quicker and easier than by doing this than having to go through and picking each one individually. Now the only thing that's left to do is add the holes in here and saving the part out as into your location wherever you want it. Now, for the benefit of those that have Pro or Expert, let me scroll up here. I'm going to delete my shell. Now, if you have surfaces, we're going to do a delete face on this. Now here, the same trick applies. Select the top one, or the first one in the list. Shift select. Try it again. First one, Shift select the last one. And now we have them all selected. Now notice that delete face does not have a preview option, but we can still come in here and select those faces that we want to keep for creating our part. Okay, so now that hit OK. Now we're left with a surface that encompasses the outside surface of the formed part. Then come in here and grab thicken, select our surface, get our thickness set, and we'll change our direction to inward and OK that, and there we have our part. And we can fold up our faces folder, and in the surfaces come in here and just hide that so that it's out of the way. Now the only thing that left to do is turn on the whether you use shell or delete and thicken faces, then you still turn on your turn on your tracing image if you need to double check anything, but we need to put in some holes and our square cut out in the center, and those you can do without the tracing image on. But we go back here in model, grab this surface and have a rectangle, and here I'm going to use the rectangle by center, and we'll make both edges or both sides or whatever equal. Dimension this 318, and then we'll have a vertical constraint there, and then we'll cut that through all. And then, now Atom does not have the hole tool. So in the case of Atom, we'll just have a sketch. Here we'll put in a couple of holes. 0.257, if I remember right, that's going to be the drill size for tapping this hole. And these are going to be 2 1/4. And from here to edge, 3.25. And then we'll get some constraints here. Got a vertical between all those, between the origins, and now everything is lined up. And then we can do an extrude cut. Set that through all, and that completes your part. Now, one thing you want to notice too is that when you do a offset or a thickened face with a delete face and offset thickened surface, you notice that there will be a transition on your edges here that is going to be normal or 90 degrees to the faces that you select. When you do a shell, that's not going to be at a true 90 there, so it'll look a little wonky, but it'll be good enough that gives you a latch blank that you can use in your equipment. So anyway, following this technique, it's you can set up to do stamped sheet metal parts. Now this is fairly simple. Now here's an example of another simpler one that I did some time ago out of basically it's a strip of 14 gauge material that has another complex bend, and this one too again is got basically you start off with a blank solid, and then you just start cutting away from the part, adds your fillets. And this one again I did a delete face and then thicken surface, and then it finished it up with holes and a radius on the end there, so you've got a complete part. So then you can even go into even more complex. Here's a stamped drawer slide, and again these all started off with a solid part that I modeled up and then used the delete face and thicken to create the sheet metal part. So anyway, hope this gives you some ideas on how you can create stamped sheet metal parts in Alibre. So thanks for watching.